I think I was like 5 or 6, and I made my first powered toy boat from scratch. That was the start of it. I moved up to airplanes of every size, shape, and description. A lot of very unusual ones that I came up with, powered by various means. There were lots of crashes. I remember when I was 12, I set about building my own working electric motor. It was very exciting to see the thing run, even more exciting when the smoke started coming out. I learned how to make it through the first disaster and get onto a bigger disaster. When I was heading off to MIT, I had no interest in rock and roll music. I had some experience with classical music. I took piano lessons. I think I started at 6. I only lasted a couple of years. But in college, I heard the Kinks and the Yardbirds and that English sound. Dun, da, 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 da. Then I got the bug. And so then I started trying to pound out some simple chords and things on a piano, but the music was still strictly for fun. After I graduated, I became a product design engineer for Polaroid. I worked on several different projects. The one that I liked best was building a sound system for analog instant movies. And that's where I learned how tape recording worked. So I started buying time at studios, and I did for a few years, and I just never came out of there with what I was looking for. I decided if I was going to do this and have things sound the way I imagined them, I was going to have to do it myself. So I built a very crude studio in the basement of my apartment house. I learned everything I could about engineering and producing, and I started trying my hand at it. From studying physics, I learned basically how music worked, how the human ear heard it, all of the principles of superposition and phase cancellation and things like this that, you know, maybe a lot of musicians, even engineers, sometimes are unfamiliar with. And I think that gave me a big edge. I would work at Polaroid in the day, and then at night I made the demos and then try to get up for work the next day, which didn't always happen. After I had spent this year in my basement, I got the names of every record company that was listed in the Yellow Pages in LA and in New York City. And I sent them copies of my demos, and I got the usual rejection letters. I also got 3 legitimate bites from 3 major labels. So I ended up going to Epic Records at CBS. Then a professional producer looks at my so-called studio and he says, "Come to LA, we'll do this the right way." And I said, "Look, it has to be done this way if I'm going to get those sounds again." He said, "Well, if it has to be done here, I'm going to have to walk. I can't do the project." He opens the door, takes one step out the door, and he turns around and he says, "Look, you make the record, the master, here in your basement without me. We'll mix it in LA, and I'll keep the record company off your back." And just as I'm about to say, "Great," he says, "and we'll split the producer's royalty." I said, thank God I was slow with that answer.